So my name is Sandra. I'm here to talk to you today about our grocery run at the Multicultural Health Brokers. I serve as the Community Resource Coordinator on this project, and I'm supervised by Dr. Maria Mayan from Community University Partnership at the U of A, as well as Yvonne Chu, who is the Executive Director of the Multicultural Health Brokers. Moreira is a PhD student who acts as a critical third eye for us on this project, and Dr. Rhonda Bell is the project lead for Enrich, and I'll tell you all about Enrich because it plays a really important role in the work that we've been doing. Who are the Multicultural Health Brokers? If you were with me yesterday, I apologize that you have to hear all about this again, but so it's a cooperative that supports immigrant refugees and asylum-seeking families as they seek to settle into Edmonton over the short and the long-term and intermediate term. We have a democratic governance structure, and what that means is that everybody who is a member of the cooperative actually gets a vote when it comes to organizational decision-making. We serve more than 2,300 families per year, and we facilitate more than 16% of births in the Edmonton region, so it's a pretty busy organization. We offer a very holistic approach to health education, so we serve everything from perinatal to parenting workshops, intervention and one-on-one counseling, and as well as a variety of youth and seniors programs. And in order to provide such an extensive array of programs, we have to partner throughout the community. So that includes Alberta Health Services, End Poverty Edmonton, the Seniors Alliance of Greater Edmonton, and many, many more, some of whom are in this room right now. So what exactly is the health broker? A broker is a cross-cultural facilitator. They act as translators, educators, and mediators. Many of these women come from immigrant and refugee backgrounds themselves, so they have a very unique insight into the lived experience of the families that they serve. There's more than 80 staff at Multicultural Health, and we represent and serve more than 23 different ethno-cultural groups. One of the biggest things is that we operate out of the Edmonton Intercultural Center, and this is a really good example of a creative social solution to a problem where a lot of social agencies needed a place to work out of, but that can be expensive, right? So what they did was that they all came together to form the Edmonton Intercultural Center Board, and together they collaborate and rent out this building from the school board. This is great because if you are a family that transits or is very busy, it's really nice to be able to come to one place to receive a variety of services and programs. So it's actually really, so it saves you a lot of time. So remember when I was talking about the Enrich program? Well, one of the things that we really want to illustrate is that with our food waste reduction programs, they didn't just spring up overnight. It actually came from the result of a very rich and deep partnership with Enrich and the Multicultural Health Brokers. So the goal of Enrich is to promote appropriate maternal body weight in pregnancy and postpartum through healthy eating. And Multicultural Health Brokers has a large component based off of helping new and young mothers as they seek to settle into Edmonton. Enrich is a 5-year research project, and in 2013, they began to partner with MHBC. And one of the key components is that they had selected strategies. So working with particularly vulnerable populations who experience barriers above and beyond, say, the average person. This partnership is based off of something called community-based participatory research. And what that means is that the agency who is being researched is involved in the process from the very beginning. So this means developing the kinds of questions that they want answered, informing how the research process occurs, as well as really targeting what kinds of ways the information will be used at the end of the process. There's a very strong level of trust and respect between the two organizations because you're answering some very sensitive and complicated questions. And the engagement between the two organizations is continuous, and it's been very inviting. One thing that we found during the process of researching maternal health is a persistent problem of food insecurity. So remember when I talked about all the great programs that they offered before? Well, you're not going to have English language classes or health education when you do not have enough food for your family at the end of the day, especially if you have, say, young children and you're trying to make ends meet. This is usually near the end of the month when they run out at the end of their social assistance, and so they're having this issue of food insecurity. So because of this problem, our brokers weren't even being able to provide many of the other services that they offer. So then Enrich turned to MCHB and they asked, okay, what can we do for you? And it came about that there needed to be a point person for someone to deliver food security programs aimed at helping out with this crisis situation. So the purpose of the Community Resource Coordinator was actually created in response to this. So the aim of the position is to find solutions for food insecure families at the brokerage. So, no pressure on me or anything like that. And what ended up coming out of this was something called the Grocery Run. It's our food rescue initiative in-house. We distribute weekly and we focus on culturally appropriate foods. So one of the important things to note is that when you have a new family who is settling into Canada, finding culturally appropriate foods is critical, because if you give them something, no matter how nutritious it is, if they are not comfortable eating it or just don't even know what it is, it's not going to do very much. A lot of our foods are excess or unsaleable. So as Marjorie mentioned before, it's food that's still perfectly nutritious and edible, but it's just not going to reach market for a variety of reasons, possibly because it just doesn't meet some very strict retail or export standards. We also have regular and occasional donors, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. So how exactly do we operate? We bundle services together with other programs at the Edmonton Intercultural Center, and this helps to really reduce stigma. It's not so, it's something that's widely available to anyone who comes to the brokerage. And we are also overcoming some barriers to access because many of our mothers don't drive. So being able to provide it in a small package that they can take on the bus with them is really helpful. We've been mentored by a lot of long-running community programs, such as the Collingwood and Millwoods bread runs, and they have been really instrumental in helping us set up and giving us some tips, because they've been around for a long time. So some of the potholes that we could fall into, we managed to avoid because of them. Edmonton's Food Bank, or Marjorie here, has been an invaluable mentor in helping us get set up as well, and also advising us. And we also had some great tips from Second Harvest in Toronto. So here are some photos of what the grocery run looks like. At the top left here, we have one of our volunteers' vehicles, and it's filled to the brim with bread donated from Cobb's. At the bottom left, we have one of our helpers. She, pound for pound, I think she was more useful than her mother and I. She was very industrious. Yeah. And then on the left, we have fresh produce donated from the organic box. So what does it take to get something like this off of the ground? We had to start from scratch at the brokerage. There was really no way of getting food to families at the brokerage. So we really had to build from the bottom. So we had many donors who were very generous enough to donate to us. And then once we determined a pickup and a time, we had volunteer drivers come out to get it. We didn't have much storage space either at the Edmonton Intercultural Center, so developing that was a very good lesson in space management. And then finally, we distribute out of the center, and this all happens within a 24-hour window. This is what a grocery run looks like. On the left, we have two of our brokers from the Spanish-speaking and European communities, and on the right, we have one of our volunteers. And he actually helps translate for me, because it's really difficult to explain instructions to people about the food when you don't speak the same language. 30 minutes later, it's all gone, so this is a very rapid process. If you noticed, you won't see any photos of the families, and that's because many of them don't want their photos taken due to religious reasons and for personal reasons as well. This is an example of how there's actually a lot of expertise and creativity in the populations that they serve. So on the top left, those are actually pumpkins from Halloween. I know they don't look like pumpkins, but they are, I promise you. And so when they were donated to us, the donors were like, oh, we have no idea, like, we are not sure what to do with this, but if you can take it, that would be great. So I was like, I am sure that someone at the brokerage will come up with a good way of using this. So what happened was, this is for a Christmas party for low-income Eastern European families, and Lilia, our broker here, decided that the pumpkins would be great in muffins. So she went and baked the muffins from scratch, and then she did an incredible icing job. So what have we done until now? We've distributed about 3 tons of food since September, and we average about 20 to 30 families per week, and we've managed to serve more than 110 unique families, and 20%. So 1 in 5 families of those are recurring, and many of them are not accessing any other forms of food aid, and that happens for a variety of reasons. So keeping in line with the spirit of doing research, we decided to assess food security status in our populations. We used something called the Household Food Security Survey module from Health Canada. It's a widely validated tool both here and in the US. And what it does is that it looks at household level food insecurity. And immigrant and refugee populations are actually very under-researched. So we asked some pretty difficult questions, actually. So one of the things we did ask was, in the past 12 months, did your household experience not having enough money to eat meals with as many healthy foods as you wished? And more than 80% of our families said that they did. When it came to cutting meal sizes or skipping meals, 42% said that they just didn't have enough money to be able to avoid that. And this is the one that hurts me the most. 1 in 3 families said that they had children who had to skip meals or cut meal sizes just because there wasn't enough money. So as you can see, there have been a lot of challenges. One of them is that there's high nutritional needs within the population that we're serving. And that's because a lot of them are pregnant or young mothers, and there's also a lot of young children. Our families are really pressed for time, money, and energy. Many of them work multiple jobs and have to take transit, and in addition, they're trying to learn skills that are really critical to their settling here. And we're working in a system with many stakeholders, and building capacity in this context is actually very complex. And so we have to be mindful of that as we move forward. So where are we going after this? This is called the theory of change. And what this means is that it's just a roadmap that we're using to go forward. A theory of change it just says what kind of change are we trying to achieve, and what are the steps and actions that we need to take to get there. So these 3 boxes are our grocery run. So as you can tell, it's a very small part in a larger initiative that we're trying to achieve. And that's because we're basing it off of the core belief that we can use food as a gateway for social change. And what we're trying to build at the end of the day, our big dream is to build a more inclusive and alternative food system where the women and the families that we serve are actually empowered to come up with their own solutions and to be able to really enact what their dreams of success will be. So that's our dream at the end of the day. And I wanted to say thank you for letting me present here today. And these are some of our supporters who've helped us get started. So, yeah. And if you have any more questions, here's my email at the bottom. So, yeah, thank you.